Welcome to finding the settings on your digital DSLR camera with capturing true emotion. My name is Val Westover, and we're going to talk today about finding the settings on a Canon EOS Rebel T2i. These are the settings that we are going to find on this camera. We're going to look for the camera modes, the ISO, aperture, shutter speed, metering mode, white balance, focus mode, your AF point selection, drive mode, the histogram, exposure compensation, and flash exposure compensation. First of all, let's look and find our mode dial. Your mode dial is right on the top of the camera. You would turn the mode dial to select, for instance, program mode, shutter priority, aperture priority, or manual mode. These are the modes you need to be in if you want to start taking complete control, or more control, I should say, of your exposure. Your ISO. To select your ISO, you push your ISO button, and then you would toggle your wheel for your desired ISO. Just look at the back of the camera, look at the monitor until you have the desired ISO, and then you would hit your set button, which your set button is located right at the very back of your camera right here. So you would hit your ISO button, you would toggle your dial, your ISO would be registered on the back of your monitor right here. Let's talk about aperture. How to change and how to select an aperture on this camera. First of all, you have to recognize it depends on what mode you are in. If you're in aperture priority, that means that you're in charge of aperture, and all you would have to do is toggle and change the main dial. You would change the main dial and you would see your F number, your aperture setting right here change. If you're in manual mode, in full manual mode, both the aperture and the shutter speed have to share this dial. So at that point, in manual mode, you would push and hold down the AV button right here. Once you push and hold down that AV button, then you would turn the dial until you get your desired F number, your desired aperture. Your shutter speed, the shutter speed, again, either in shutter priority or manual mode, you would change your main dial to change your shutter speed. Your metering mode, to access your metering mode, you would push your quick button here, your shortcut button, I should say. It'll let you access your quick menu. Use these plus or these up and down, left and right buttons right here to navigate throughout your quick menu. Once you get to your metering mode, which is right here, select the metering mode that you want and then hit set. White balance, very simple. Hit the WB, white balance, select the white balance that you want and hit set. It'll be recorded right here on the back of your monitor. Your autofocus mode, again, it's right at your fingertip. Select AF, push this button right here, select the autofocus mode of your choice, and then hit set. Your autofocus area, if you want to have precise of the exact area that your camera is going to autofocus on, then push this button here. This is your autofocus area button. The symbol looks like a little checkerboard. Once you push this button, this monitor will light up, giving you the ability to choose any area that you want your camera to autofocus in. So you would push this button here, and then you would toggle your dial or move your arrows up, down, left, or right. Your drive mode, push this button right here. This is your drive mode button, and select single shot, multiple shot, or if you want a time shot, right here. Once you select your desired drive mode, hit set and it'll hold. Your histogram. To access your histogram, the histogram is a graph, gives you those up and down mountain and valley looking little peaks. You would push your play button to access an image, hit playback, pull up any image that you've taken. Once you see it here in your monitor, then you would hit your display button, and then you would be able to see all of the information about your image, including your histogram. Your exposure compensation button. When you're in aperture priority, shutter priority, or program mode, these three modes right here, the camera is going to give you a correct exposure. Now it's up to you to override that by pushing your exposure compensation button right here. And at that point, you can intentionally over or underexpose your image. Once you've decided if you want to underexpose your image a little bit or overexpose a little bit, you would change the option by pushing this button here and then hitting set. Your flash exposure compensation. If you want to power your flash up or down, your dimmer switch, so to say, or so I should say, on your flash, push your quick button here and move your dials to the left or the right or the top or the bottom to navigate up to your flash exposure compensation. You'll see a flash exposure level indicator that looks similar to this one, and you can decide whether you want to overexpose, underexpose, and in a sense what you're doing is you are powering your flash up or powering it down, making your light brighter or dimmer. Once you've decided exactly where you want it, hit set. Your auto exposure lock button. In program mode, shutter priority, aperture priority, these three modes right here, if you decide that you want to lock in your exposure, again, you cannot lock in exposure once you're in manual mode. There's nothing to lock. You've already decided what your ISO, aperture, and shutter speed are going to be. They will not change on you. However, in these three modes right here, those settings will constantly change on you as you're pointing your camera in a variety of different areas. So if you want to lock your exposure in, push your exposure lock button. It looks like a star. Once you push this button, you don't have to hold it down. You can release it. As long as you can see that star lit up in your viewfinder somewhere on the left, that means your camera has locked that exposure for you. I want to thank you for taking the time to watch this video, and I want to remind you that your beautiful Canon EOS Rebel T2i plus the Exposure Pro app equals perfect exposures. Thanks so much, and go out there and start shooting like pros.